Hey everyone, it's John Williams here on the Carpet Boost AI Carpet Cleaners Growth channel. This week we have Chris Hessler of Home Service Simple on the podcast with us. He's going to be telling us all about his story, his journey to starting and growing his carpet cleaning business. He's also going to be sharing with us some amazing hints and tips, hacks and cracks to help you in your carpet cleaning business as well. So without further ado, let's dive right in. Welcome to the show, Chris. Just to kind of get things started, would you want to kind of just sort of tell us sort of your journey, how from the very beginning, like how did you start in the carpet cleaning industry? What made you start the business? Kind of what were you doing beforehand? What's the kind of origin story of like Home Service Simple?
Yeah, so it kind of started, about 20 years ago, actually. I was working full time during the day. I was building
Right.
houses, and then in the evening, I was working in a call center. And I was
Cool.
just scrolling the internet, and I had saw like the Rotovac 360 machine, and I was like, man, this is really cool. And I was like, this would be fun to use. And so then later on, I had seen it for use in a restaurant. I asked the restaurant, like, hey, like, can you tell me a little bit about this machine? Like, hey, do you want to try it? And I was like, man, I don't know why this is like super gratifying. It's like, I was 18, 19 years old. And I was like, I think I want to clean carpets. I don't know why it's super satisfying, but I didn't. I, I, s- I went into this trade school, and I went to work for one of the largest privately owned companies here in the States, working
Wow.
under Charles Koch. And so I was there for about 10 years doing various merger and acquisition and IT technology roles. And as I was there, we would always be coached on Charles Koch's business philosophy. We'd get all of his books, we'd go to week-long trainings and kind of understand how he likes his business to run and how he became successful. I left there, took a couple other roles in Florida, and my buddy just last year had lost his job, and he was like, "Man, I lost my job. I'm looking to do something." And I have been rolling around this idea in my head for the last couple of years, not necessarily about carpet cleaning, but it was about bringing property management style services to middle class and upper middle class. And we thought, hey, for a monthly fee, we could do things that keep your home, tidy. Most people have a pest control guy. They got people cleaning their carpets, people cleaning their windows, a lawn guy. And we're like, what if we just bundled that all up together and try and sell that as a service? So
Cool.
I said, hey, you know what? Like, I've got extra capacity. You're in Wichita, I'm in Florida, but I can move back to Wichita. But let's start this business. And so he said, all right. And I was like, but before we start, like, I want to make one big purchase. I want to buy a carpet cleaning, a truck mount machine, because this has always been like in my mind. I've wanted to do this, and I want to add this as part of our service offering. So he's like, yeah, fine, that's fine. So I went down to Houston to a company called Chemtex and bought a brand new truck mount package and trailer, towed it up to
Nice.
Wichita, and we started working on kind of the business model, the vision, and the sales pitch. And what we learned really quick, and what we'd have heard from others who tried to mentor us against our decision, was, hey, don't spread yourself across multiple different verticals. And we found that was very true. We tried to offer so much, and it was very hard to sell, especially for people who hadn't done it before, right? Who haven't maybe not had that cold sales experience. So we said, this isn't working. We're not making the traction with it. Let's dial it back. And when we started to look at what services were driving the most revenue, carpet cleaning was our biggest revenue driving service. So you know what? Let's just go all in right now. Well, the vision is still there long term, but right now, like let's really do one service excellent. Let's do carpet cleaning excellent. Let's really dial in all the skills it takes to run a premium carpet cleaning business. And that's what we've done this year.
Wow, awesome. Cool. So basically, the business has been going for what, 2 years now total, would you say?
We just started our second year.
Okay, so you're just coming to the end of the first year, and
Yeah.
now you're into the second year. So that's awesome, and I totally understand like what you mean about kind of like niching down and staying in front of in one vertical. It was the same with me when I started the company years and years ago. It was originally called Had to Grow Business. That was the name of the company. And originally, when I started out, I was just working doing ads and meta ads, Facebook, Instagram, with all different kinds of businesses. And it's kind of difficult to kind of grow and scale when one week you've got a dentist signing up for marketing, the next week you've got a carpet cleaner, and then the week after that you've got like a real estate guy, because the marketing tactics, depending on the niche,
Hmm.
completely different, right? So like we were all over the place. And like you said, it makes a lot of sense just to get really good at one industry. For you, it was carpet cleaning. For us, it was getting really good at marketing carpet cleaners. And we'd actually had a franchise reach out that we'd signed of a franchisee of a franchise, and that led to us getting more franchisees. So we had this kind of like a lot of carpet cleaners versus other types of businesses. And we thought, you know what, just like what you said, let's just focus on that. Let's get really good at it. Let's go all in. And that's what we did. And it's definitely great advice. It definitely worked. And so then at that point, then we kind of rebranded then as like Carpet Boost AI, so that it resonates with the industry that we serve a little more, a little bit less general. So I totally understand exactly where you're coming from with that. Do you remember your first paying job ever? Like, what was that experience like?
So I do, and it wasn't necessarily a carpet cleaning job. When we launched the company, our first job was a restoration for a quick flip for some companies that we work for, and it went all wrong. I was working in Florida still, so my business partner, who's here in Wichita, actually doing the operations side of the business, was there. They tore out the floors, they got everything cleaned up, and the previous owner had like 13 cats. And so if you could just imagine the mess that 13
Oh, I
cats
don't want to
live.
think about that.
Yeah, it was dreadful, he said. And so they get it all cleaned up, and he texts me that night. He's like, "Hey, job is done. We're gonna go back in tomorrow with the contractor, make sure they're happy with everything, get a payment." I was like, all right, great. He texts me first thing in the morning and he sends me some pictures, and there's cats all back inside the house. And he's like, dude, I
No,
just cleaned this all up last night. I locked the doors. Well, the previous owner had kept a key, opened it back up, put a bag of cat food on the floor and fed the cats. And I was like, this is what we signed up for. Okay.
absolutely. And back in those kind of early days, what was like the biggest challenge that you kind of had, like getting the business off the ground? What was like the most difficult thing that you kind of had to overcome?
Yeah, the most difficult thing to overcome was like no one knows who you are. So, and how can we grow that that brand name and that brand awareness in a market it's not super saturated, but there are a lot of local players still. And then there's the big franchises like your Stanleys out there. So that was definitely the biggest obstacles. How do we get our service and our offering in front of the right customer at the right time?
Absolutely. And back then, obviously, you weren't working with us at that point. So what were you doing back then in terms of trying to get it off the ground?
Man, we tried everything. I had a whole how to win playbook that we went over with my operations leader and my technician leader. And the original strategy was, hey, let's do door signs or door hangers and yard
Classic.
signs. And then another guy he was really great at sales. I wanted him to go business to business, door to door, and try to get on like restaurants or churches and things like that. It did not. I mean, it's a long process to go door to door, do that cold sales to get someone to convert to a lead. So we were maybe getting just a couple jobs a week, and we're just like, oh my God, this is not. We can't sustain this. How? What else can we do? So at that point, as an entrepreneur, it's up to you to figure out how to grow the business and how to fix those problems. So we took a step back, and it's like, hey, look, like this is not driving any. It's moving the needle, but it's very slow. It's barely break even. It's not even 2x our return on ad spend for any of these modalities that we're doing today. Let me reach out to some people in the industry, maybe some people who are a lot further ahead of us, and see if we can pay for speed. And that's been the theme over the last 6 months is, hey, let's pay for speed, right? People have already learned this lesson. There's already playbooks out there. And some of the models that my team had, they were like, they're not going to tell you how to compete against them. And I was like, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true. And so we went out and we didn't find a lot of people in the carpet cleaning space kind of like promoting their business model and telling, but we found a ton of young, very successful entrepreneurs in the windows cleaning space. And we thought, you know what, like those tactics are pretty similar, potentially. So like let's see if we can pay for some of their coaching, kind of understand their playbook. And we attended a couple different coaching sessions or met with a couple different people rather. And as I started talking to them, what we started to hear was the digital landscape is really what's driving the majority of their volume. And
Mm,
now they couldn't tell us one way or the other. Is that Google pay-per-click? Is it Google LSA? Is it
mm.
Meta? And so we started to develop and deploy our own ads on the Google platform, both with LS. We started with LSA because that is the most simple. You pretty much just give it an ad budget and say, hey, give me phone calls. So that was our first intro into to paid ads, and that did start to increase finally our job count to where we were like, okay, we're breaking even now. We're not hemorrhaging cash on labor that's not being deployed. After that, we decided to go into another type of ad with Google, which was the Google pay-per-click. And we launched a website and a landing page using some tactics that we had learned over the last probably 3 or 4 months, and it went okay, but it still wasn't quite the volume that we were expecting, which is when we found Carpet Boost AI and the Meta platform.
There we go. We'll come back to us in a minute. One of the things I wanted to touch on with you there, you mentioned that you'd invested in coaching and mentoring and stuff, which is something that I've done as well in my entrepreneurial journey. What are your thoughts on coaching and mentoring in terms of like, there's going to be a lot of other carpet cleaning businesses that are going to be watching this video. Some that are maybe starting out, some that have maybe been in the game for a little while. They've never really considered that or thought about that. Do you believe that it's really important to invest in sort of coaching and mentoring? What are your thoughts around that?
I'd be glad to talk about this. I was originally against it. I had thought, hey, I've worked for one of the most successful entrepreneurs in America. Like, I have his playbook. I know what I'm doing. And I quickly
Yeah.
learned I, I don't. I don't. I need someone more connected to the product and service that I'm running in the local market, down a few levels from like that billionaire, mentality. And the coaching was paramount to us being able to survive our slow months and to really help kind of understand and successfully deploy our capital in the ad space. Because we had tried meta ads and some other ads before we had some coaching, and you can burn through a lot of cash really quick if it's not dialed in. And I mean, you're paying to teach yourself a lesson. And in my case, or my philosophy is, I'd rather pay if I'm going to pay the money one way or the other. I'd rather pay someone who's an expert who can help me kind of get to value faster than me just trial and erroring and learning it on my own.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. I mean, on my side, when I was starting out, I signed up to this mentoring coaching program. It was quite expensive. It was a few $1,000s, but a lot of what it taught me, some of it I already knew, but there were a couple of like modules in there, which really put me in touch with some software that we now use that if I would never have done that coaching, I would never have found out about. And so sometimes it's just those small little 1% little advantages that you gain that in the short term don't make a big difference, but in the long term, it's huge, So I totally agree with you. And I've always been a big believer in the most valuable currency in the world. And this is where I find a lot of carpet cleaners, small business owners, they fail to understand this. The most valuable currency in the world is not money, it's time. Because once time is gone, you never get it back. It's gone forever. That's it. It's never coming back. Money comes and goes, right? You can lose $100 one day, make $1,000 the next, but time, once it's gone, it's gone. And it's really important that business owners understand how valuable time is and that you should use it wisely. And so, is it the best use of your time to be doing your accounts yourself? Is it the best use of your time to be spending hours trying to figure out how to do meta ads or this or that? Or is it a better use of your time to basically leverage money to get your time back so that you can focus on working on the business, not in the business, and leverage somebody else's expertise to deal with all the other stuff? And I think that's a key core element when it comes to entrepreneurship that some people don't quite get. That, oh, that's expensive, or that's going to, I can save myself $500 if I do that myself. I always say it's not about whether you could do it yourself. It's about whether you should be doing it yourself.
Yeah, we've built a culture and we trained very heavily on understanding what we call, and what we had learned at Coke was comparative advantage and opportunity cost. And to help our techs and some of our other mentors kind of grasp that concept, what I do sometimes is I'll say, hey, look, I'm not going to take phone calls. I'm not going to grow the business for 2 days. And then I want you guys to see the impact on the schedule, which directly impacts a lot of our guys are commissioned. And you'll see directly how this impacts you if I were to be out in the field helping you. And then they can see, oh my God, job flows dropped, 30%, which decreases revenue by, X amount of dollars. Now my bonus is a lot lighter. And they're like, well, but but you got so much more done and you saved money by not. I was like, no, you guys save some time, but it cost us long term because I could be focused on higher value tasks to put more money back in your guys' pockets if I'm out there growing the business.
Absolutely, 100%. That's awesome. That's great. It's a great insight there for other carpet cleaners. I totally agree with you. Right, next question. So I've been doing this for a long time, nearly 10 years now. We work with hundreds of carpet cleaners, mostly in the USA, but all over the world. Some have been doing this for 20 years, 10 years, 30 years. Some people like yourself are just a year into it. But I'll tell you one thing, Chris, every single person that I've ever spoke to, whether you've been doing it a year or 30 years, nearly everybody I've ever spoke to has got at least one crazy story from doing carpet cleaning, whether it's walking into a murder scene and a carpet cleanup from someone that's killed their wife, or some proposition from a bored housewife, or whatever it is. Everybody that I've spoke to has got one standout crazy story. I appreciate you gave us one at the start, which was like your first ever job. I think a baptism of fire. But are there any other standout stories from your first year of doing this that you can share with us?
Yeah, so there is one, and luckily, so I don't have to experience most of those in person, but my business partner does, and he loves to share when they do happen. And so a few months ago, we had booked a job, and when we had went there, I had knew ahead of time that the lady was hard of hearing
Right.
because I had talked to an interpreter. I didn't know she was blind. And so he gets to her house, and we have like 4 rooms of carpet to do, at least according to what we heard from the interpreter. And when he gets there, he sends me a picture and he's like, "Hey, there's not a square inch of carpet. There's like a foot of there was a hoarder house. And he's like, there's like a foot of like hardwood right here, and everything else is just boxes, man, everywhere. Like, there's nothing for me to. I don't know what she wants me to do." And he can't talk to her because her interpreter's not there, and she's blind. And I don't think she knows that she doesn't even have carpet. So like, we were trying to
Wow.
figure out. We're like, "Hey, man, like, was this a prank?" Like, because that does happen too, especially when you're on social media, right? Like, you get. And she was like, he had waited there for a little while, and her boyfriend had come and helped interpret. And he was like, "Oh yeah, she wants the carpets cleaned in all the rooms." And he had to explain like, "Where do you have carpet?" And like, "I can clean this little piece of hardwood for you because it's like the only walkway in the entire house that you guys have." And he was like, "Hey, do I charge this lady?" I was like, "No, man, just get out of Dodge and
Wow,
thank
man,
them."
that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy, man. Well, I'm sure you're going to have many more stories as the years roll by doing this as well. If we had more time, there's a few that I could share with you, which are like, wow, like that's just insane. But yeah, crazy, crazy. So moving on from that, obviously, I think we've kind of covered this already, like earlier in the video, in the interview. But obviously, sort of thinking back to like the hardest point in your business, maybe a time when you thought, maybe you never had this thought to kind of like give up or quit. What got you through it? Those most challenging times in the last 12 months. What is it that kind of got you through to the other side?
Yeah, so our first winter this year, it got rough. Our jobs pretty much slowly trickled down to everything was cut in half, and we had known ahead of time that, hey, look, winter might get rough. Let's make sure we have enough cash reserves to get us through because we would like to keep the team that we have. Well, man, we had some problems. With the winter also came some broken equipment from improper winterization, added expenditures, and we were like, man, do we call it quits? And then at that point, I had talked to my business partner. His name is Isidro, and without him, we wouldn't be successful at all. He's the lifeblood of the company. And he was like, "Nope, nope, man. Like, what makes winners is like just keep going. Like, we have to just keep pushing through, figure out a way to do this." And so I was like, "Okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna maybe counterintuitive, but we're gonna increase ad spend right now because we need more volume of calls. This is what we have to do." And that's how we got through it. But that's kind of like every time we get to one of those points, we're like, "Man, this is getting really hard." Or like right now, the schedule's really full, and our guys are working 10, 12-hour days right now. We're off at least every Sunday, and we're thinking like, "Okay, this is good. Like, we asked for this. When it gets hard, we'll just keep pushing through because we know at the end, if we were to give up now, we'll never feel that sense of pride of, hey, we did it. We achieved what we set out to do. I always feel like quitters or have some resentment of, oh, what could have been, right?"
Absolutely, 100%. And I think it's really interesting what you say. Obviously, with me doing this for such a long time now, we always come across every winter a number of the clients that we work with. Sometimes they'll pause over the winter months for the reasons that you just said. And I think that the advice, what you just said, was really, really important. It might feel counterintuitive to increase your ad spend when you've got less jobs coming through, right?
Yeah.
You might think to yourself like that, actually, I should be trying to save as much cash as possible, but not spending more, certainly not spending more. But in actual fact, that is the solution. To go harder on your marketing, not to wind it down, because guess what? If you stop pushing, then you're definitely not going to get any work. Period. Like if you turn your ads off, if you stop doing your marketing, if you stop doing your outreach, if you stop doing those things, then you're definitely going to disappear off the face of the earth. Nobody's going to see you, and you're definitely not going to book any jobs. If anything, during those winter months, you should be doubling down on that stuff, doing more of it, investing more into it, getting yourself into more places so that you get more, so that you can, keep those jobs coming through during those winter months. Yeah. So I think that's an amazing mindset that you've had there, and I think that's awesome.
And so I can't take credit for that mindset. What gave me that idea, it was actually Henry Ford has a quote, and he says, "Those who stop marketing to save money are like those who stop a clock to save time." And so I had read that, like, it was probably like end of December, and I was like, I think I understand what he's trying to say. And I was like, we have to spend a little bit. Yes, our cost per lead's going to go up. Yes, our customer acquisition costs are going to go up. Our return on ad spend is going to go down, but we're still going to be profitable, and we still need the volume. So like once we got that mental model corrected in our head, we were able to get enough job flow through the winter so we can make it out now. Now we're like, this is the where it's a beautiful season right now. The jobs are booked up full. It's spring. Everyone wants their calendars or their carpets clean. Our calendars are full. So
one of the great things about working with us, which you're going to experience as we hit those winter months in a few months' time, whenever that is, 6 months' time or whenever, is one of the things that we do for people like yourself that we work with is we're going to do a text blast. So if you imagine by then your customer database is going to be absolutely huge, right? Yep. Compared to what it was at the start of the year. So come November, December, whenever it is, I don't know, let's make up a number. Let's imagine there's 2,000 people on that list. We can text those people and say, hey, Thanksgiving's coming up, Christmas is coming up. You might have your family coming to visit you, etc., etc. Now's a good time to get your carpets cleaned, ready for the holiday season. And just from doing that text blast, which doesn't cost any money in terms of ad spend because we own those leads now. We purchase them, right? It's just the cost of sending and receiving a text message. We can immediately get in front of all of those people because you've cleaned their carpets before. The trust is already there. They've already been in the house. They already know you. They're familiar with you, and there's every chance. I said this to somebody the other day. If you've got a database with 1,000 people on it and 90% of those people say, no, I'm not interested, and 10% say, yes, book me in, that's 100 jobs.
Yeah.
Even if 90% say no, that's going to cover you through the winter. No drama at all. No problem. It's going to keep you busy. It's going to keep you booked out. Yeah. So that's the solution that we have in place to deal with all of that. So we're building that database up now. It's going to be really big come the winter season. Then we can leverage that to make sure you stay booked out through the winter season as well. Last question in this section before we start to talk about working with us and stuff like that. And again, I know that we've kind of talked about this a little bit at the start when you mentioned like niching down into the carpet cleaning space. What was the biggest mistake that you made early on that you see a lot of new carpet cleaning businesses making today?
I would say spending money on tools or the shiny object. I would say buying a big expensive truck mount or a brand new van or a brand new truck and trailer to pull an expensive truck mount. If you don't have the lead flow problem solved and you don't have that phone call ringing, you just signed up for a lot of business which is going to suck away your profitability for something you really don't need. It looks good, you feel good, you think, oh, I'm going to get a lot, I can clean faster, but you don't need to clean faster if you're only doing a few jobs a day, and that's the reality of it.
What would you say advice wise in terms of minimum setup? If I wanted to start a carpet cleaning business today, I want to take your advice. I don't want to get into loads of debt. I don't have that too much money to invest, but I really want to get this business off the ground. What would you say is like the minimum kind of setup that you would recommend?
Yeah, I would get just a basic truck mount and a single 12-inch wand, a couple 100 feet of solution hose. If you have a trailer, put it in your existing trailer. If you have a van, put it in the van or buy a used van. You can get a decent setup for about $15,000. You don't need to spend $40,000 on the truck mount, another 40,000 on a van, and you're 80 grand in before you even made your first $1,000. You don't
For
need to
real.
do that. I know a lot of coaches that we had talked to had advised us on maybe even starting with a portable. You can get into a portable for a couple $1,000s. We used the portable during the winter. It got us by. The downside with that portable is it just doesn't have the heat or the suction or the water displacement to do an amazing job. So we noticed when we used that machine, our review count dropped in half compared to when we used the truck mount. Just because the
Interesting.
results, now they weren't bad results, but they weren't just like, oh my gosh, results, right?
Was it like a low moisture portable, like a CRB type of a machine? Was it?
No, it was a Sniper like 3000. So it's supposed to put out 400 psi at the wand and get water temps up to 180. But I don't think we never really saw those marketed values come out. And we also did try the VLM, and we do it on occasions, the very low moisture technique
Yeah,
for
yeah,
some
yeah.
of the commercial glue down. It
What are
it
your
has a
thoughts on the
spot.
what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on like the VLM? The reason why I ask this is like one of the biggest clients that we've got and with the preferred vendor for them is OxyFresh, and they have their own sort of patented low moisture sort of portable machine that they use, and they've traded on this machine off the fact that it's like low moisture, it dries in 1 or 2 hours, and they built a very profitable business, a huge franchise all across the US, just simply with that machine without using truck mounts at all. What are your thoughts on that? Do you still think like, what, at the end of the day, if you want to get those premium results, it's all about the truck mount period?
I do. I think there's a right tool for the right job, and I think the very low moisture tool has a very small defined like parameter of where it's very successful as compared to the truck mount, which I should be able to win any job and wow you with the results on the truck mount. The VLM caters, I think, to a very specific niche because we do have customers who ask, "Hey, how fast are my carpets dry?" It's a metric that they care about, which is shocking to me. I would think the metric would be how clean are my carpets, but no, a lot of people care about how fast they dry, and you can still achieve those faster dry times with the truck mount with a few added techniques, right? Set up some air movers, a couple extra dry passes, but with that, you may have to come back and pick up some air movers, and it takes away from some of your time. So yeah, there's ways to kind of navigate that. We use VLM in very small cases. We actually use it on some of our guarantee work. So if we come back to a spot that had wicking, for example, that's a spot where we'll readdress that with VLM because it wicked up because we put too much water down and it wicked the dirt up from the subfloor. So when we go back to that home, we don't need to steam everything or hot water extract everything. We go to that spot, we hit it with a VLM technique, and it looks great. We're in and out a lot quicker. You don't want to on guarantee work, you don't want to be there a whole job hour or two. So that's the to me that's the right spot to use that tool, not for
It
a
has
whole
it
job.
basically. It has its uses in certain scenarios, basically, but it's not something that you would potentially use all the time. I get it. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So, moving on, then let's talk about obviously like working with us. So you've been running this business for about a year, and then obviously at some point you obviously came across us. Tell us about the experience of like working with us and how that's been for you.
Yeah, so I'll be candid and frank. I was wowed with the results. I My assumption was that the meta ads are going to be low intent buyers because they're not actively searching. They're scrolling Facebook looking for cat videos or whatever, right? And I was wrong. I was very wrong. Our meta ads are outperforming our Google ads twofold, sometimes even threefold, both from a return on ad spend and a return on the return on ad spend and the volume of leads. It's been incredible. And this is only our first campaign. We haven't really dialed in or changed anything up in the campaign to see if we could improve it. So yeah, the speed at which we got things set up was very quick. I think we went live in about a week. A lot of it's just
Yeah,
us supplying documentation, your team building out the the ad,
system.
Yeah, the
Yep.
system and the automation's in place, and the team is very receptive to feedback on like how I wanted things done. There were some things that I was like, I can see how people would like this, but it's not right for my business, not right for how I want to interact with the customers. And the team is very receptive and honest and say, hey, yep, we can definitely change this up. Here's how it kind of impacts the strategy, and we talk through that. It's a very collaborative relationship. It's not like a marketing team that's like, hey, give me your money, I'm going to spend it on ads for you, and then you get what you get. I mean, it's been a huge blessing and a game changer for our business. I hate the term game changer, but the amount of work that it drove, and my guys were like, "What happened?" Like the the lead flow was insane. I was like, "Yeah, we figured out meta ads with the help of our friends at Carpet Boost AI, and yeah, so it's been a great experience."
That's awesome to hear. Yeah, we like to think of ourselves as like part of your team, not like some separate entity. We want to
Yeah,
collaborate with you, because at the end of the day, the way that I see it, yeah, we know a lot about meta ads. We know a ton about advertising carpet cleaning businesses in America. Of course we do. But nobody knows your business better than you do. Certainly I don't. And so that's a very important thing that I think a lot of these marketing companies fail to realize, that, you know what, like a lot of the info, a lot of the info you need to be successful, they've already got it in their business. They've got it in the spreadsheets. They've got it in the data. They've got it from being out in people's houses, from talking to people. They've got so much info that we can then leverage to give them a successful marketing campaign. So we want all of that feedback, because you guys are out there every day cleaning the carpets. And the other thing as well is the United States of America is one of the biggest countries in the world. And you think about all the states and then all the little towns and cities within each state, they're almost like little countries in their own right. And depending on where you're located, the local economy, the demographics, the local culture could be completely different. And so obviously, if your business is and you're located in that town and you've lived there for a period of time or whatever, or you grew up there, you've got so much knowledge about what your customers like, what they don't like, and about how things run in that particular part of the world. That feedback's really important to us. So we always want to collaborate and stuff like that. One question that I do have is, how did you find the AI side of things in terms of responding to the leads, booking jobs and all that kind of thing?
yeah, I thought it was interesting. It did a really good job at interacting, setting expectations, keeping the conversation flowing and providing pricing. We ran it for about a week and we ended up deciding to turn it off because of the way we booked the job. It caused a little bit of friction there. If we could have booked the job in the complete system that you guys offer, I feel like it had been a bit more seamless, but we weren't ready to add another scheduling tool and build an abstraction layer to kind of keep our calendars in sync between Go High Level and House Call Pro, which is our main field service management CRM. And we didn't have the time to do that. So once we get there, we'll probably turn it back on. But its ability to keep the conversation flowing and accurately respond to the customer is really, really good. If the human can stay out of the loop on that, it does amazing. Once the human gets in the loop, we see it start to kind of deteriorate.
Absolutely. Now, for me, this is the biggest thing about it. It's one of the biggest things when it comes to marketing any business, carpet cleaning business, or any kind of business, is speed to lead. And that's really where the AI comes into its own, because we now live in this world of like convenience. I remember back in the day, I'm sure you remember it as well, Chris, driving to Blockbuster Video to rent out a movie on a Friday night, and you drive there in the car or whatever. You've got to then choose the movie. You've got to go to the desk. Guy's got to go out the back, find the VHS tape, got to drive it home. You watch it, then you've got to return it back again. Now you just press a button on your TV remote and you've got like Netflix, thousands of hours of movies. Now you can press a button on your cell phone and magically a pizza arrives from Pizza Hut. Like, wow, like shit. Or you press a button, you want to order something on Amazon, and it just magically arrives by a drone or something in the next day. Like it's nuts. That's the world we now live in, and people have got used to that. They don't want to wait 2 hours necessarily for you to get back to them, and it's all the quicker you can respond. And this is from a data perspective, this is statistically proven to be true. The quicker you respond, the more chance you've got of getting that person booked in. If you're able to get back to them within the first few seconds when they're at that highest level of intent, when they've just clicked that ad and they're super interested, the chances of you actually scheduling that person goes up dramatically. And on top of that, obviously, especially on social media, you've got people that are clicking on these ads late at night when the office might be closed, or on the weekends and things like that, so having the AI receptionist there means that that's literally responding to the leads instantaneously, 24 hours a day, 365. Nothing falls through the cracks. Nobody gets forgotten about. What's really cool as well is that it can follow up off its own back as well. So let's imagine somebody clicked on the ad and said, how much is 4 rooms in a hallway? And the AI responds, gives them a price, and then there's no response. The person doesn't respond. They don't say that they want to schedule. It just goes quiet. Well, the AI a day later on its own will reach back out to that customer and say, hey, listen, you asked for that price on the 4 rooms in the hallway. You never got back to me. Do you want to book that in? And what we've seen from a data perspective is quite often people are, oh yeah, sorry, I got distracted, the doorbell went, or I got dragged into a meeting, I forgot to get back to you. Thanks for getting back to me. Yeah, can we book that in on Wednesday next week? And with a person, if they forget to follow up with that person, or if you've got a lot of leads coming in, trying to remember, I need to follow up with that person, they never got back to me, or whatever, could be a real challenge. With this, it just kind of puts all of that on autopilot. And something that I'll say, this probably won't make it into the video, but something I will say to you off the record, Chris, is that I'm actually looking at an integration right now to be able to pass the information into House Call Pro.
Fantastic.
And vice versa. So I'm literally speaking with a developer today, and we're going to hook that up. So that might be something that we can test out with you guys. And that might be something that we can hook up and see how that works for you as well.
Yeah, I'd love to, because we've got it halfway connected kind of right now. So we use Zapier to pull the data from the Metaforms and from you guys, and then we push it. So we have the customer name info all in House Call Pro, where we then make the estimate, and then we have the automations from there kick off to do the lead nurture. So if that integration comes from Carpet Boost to natively do it, and I can get Zapier out of the flow, and even book the jobs, and like that's the key. Because my wife hopefully this makes it in the video. My wife loved when I had the AI turned on, because we had it turned on for it may have been 2 weeks. I know it was at least 1 weekend for sure, because my daughter plays competitive softball, and so like I'm on my phone all day, like ever since we turned on the meta ads. Like, I mean, it rings all the time, and so it's a good problem, right? I'm not saying it's a bad problem, but I'm at the games and I'm booking jobs, right? And so when I turned it on, and I had a whole Saturday with my wife just watching, I get Terry just talking about it. My wife was like, "Wow, is everything okay?" And I was like, "No, like I got Carpet AI. They're taking care of the AI is doing it all for me right now." She's like, "Are you serious?" And I was like, "Yeah, like it's responding to the people for me, and then tonight I'll follow up if I need to." She's like, "Oh, this is awesome." And I was like, "Yeah, it's pretty cool."
Absolutely, 100%. So what we'll do is, after this call, after we've done this video today, I'm going to have a look into this, and I'll reach out to you via Ryan, and maybe we'll book another Zoom call. We could see if we can kind of get this thing hooked up so that it's properly integrated, so we can pass the data seamlessly between House Call Pro and Go High Level and vice versa. And maybe we can switch the AI back on and make your wife a very happy woman again.
Yeah, she was in love with it for that week. She was like, "Man, I got my husband for all week, like not missing any plays." I was like, "It's pretty nice."
Yeah, absolutely. One of the other things that we've got, and I don't know if Ryan showed this to you yet, but certainly something we can again look at down the line. We've actually got voice AI now, so we actually have.
Really, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we can. It's an add-on. It's like an extra $297 a month, but ultimately we can have it so that it actually answers the phone. So, and when the customer speaks to it, it's that good now. The technology's that advanced that they would never even know that they're not speaking to a human being. It's exceptionally good. And so we've got a number of our clients, some that have just got it on 24/7. So if anybody calls their business line, if they find them on like Google Maps or whatever, anybody calls that business line, the AI is answering the phone 24/7. That's it. And then we've got other people that have got like a front desk, and during the working day they'll have a human being answer it, no worries, and they'll just switch it on at night or over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if that AI answers a phone call and books another 2 or 3 jobs over
Pay
the
for itself.
course of the weekend,
Yeah.
well, that's, and if you're doing that every week, that, in terms of like your revenue of your business, profit margins and that could add another couple of $1,000 plus just by having the capability to have the phones answered outside of office hours, So that's another big thing as well. And we'll definitely look at that with you as well when you guys are ready to maybe try that out with us. Like I said, it's not something that you need to have on all the time. You can just have it on the weekends or at 6 o'clock or something when the office closes. It's just there as a nice backup when there's not a normal person available to answer the call. So yeah, that's great. Well, look, thanks for obviously giving us the insights, and I'm really pleased that we've had this like amazing success with you, and looking forward to continuing to build on that. What does the future look like for Home Service Simple? Are you looking to get more vans, more technicians? What's the kind of the battle plan for the next 12 months?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. So we've been working on our training guide right now. We've hired another employee and we're looking for our second van and into branching them off into kind of their own. And we're also getting ready to partner and well, I say partner, but to acquire a water restoration company. So I think a natural progression that a lot of the carpet cleaners get in is to that water restoration. And so
Yeah,
we're working the deal right now. Hopefully we'll be able to launch the merger and announce it here in a couple months. But that's the next phase of our business. We're really hoping to grow to 3 vans by the end of this year, 3 carpet cleaning vans, and then the 1 water restoration. With the long term goal, I think we want to see ourselves somewhere like in that 6 to 10 van range, and servicing the entire county and being the preferred carpet cleaner in the entire county. But that's a long stretch goal for us. It's a couple years down the road. Immediate goal, definitely get our new employee onboarded, second van up, and then the water restoration company.
amazing. I mean, it's important to have long-term goals, and I always say to people, building a business, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. It takes time, it takes years. You look at some of the biggest entrepreneurs in the world. You look at Elon Musk. It took him over like 10 to 15 years to launch a rocket successfully into space. Like, imagine that. Every rocket launch you did for like a decade failed. It failed. And you lost probably millions, if not billions of dollars in the process. But you kept getting back on the horse. You kept figuring it out. And eventually, after 10, 15 years of trying, you figured it out. I was reading about Amazon, Jeff Bezos. And I think for the first 10 or 20 years, Amazon was not profitable because they were having to build all this infrastructure, all these warehouses and all of this stuff. Obviously, the upfront cost of that was enormous. So they were not profitable for 10 years. And when they launched the Amazon Kindle, all of the publishing companies in the world saw that as an absolute threat to the book and the publishing industry. And that guy, man, he was sued like crazy. They tried to put him out of business. He had so many lawsuits, everything. And a lot of people would give up. But this guy kept on it. He kept getting back on the horse. 10, 20 years later, he's one of the richest men in the world. And a lot of people don't realize that, it's not, about the next 30 days. It's not about the next 12 months. It's the next 5, 10 years you need to be thinking about, really. And so it's great that you kind of got that mindset. And to kind of finish up, I know that we spoke earlier and you said, in terms of advice for people starting out, not to get that shiny object syndrome, not to, spend a load of money on stuff before you've even got your first job through the door. And that's great advice for new people starting out. I want to finish this video by asking you, what's the number one piece of advice that you would give in general to all carpet cleaning people in this industry, whether you've been doing it a year, 10 years, 30 years? What's the number one piece of advice in general you would give to somebody in the game watching this video right now?
For one, huh? Let me see.
Yeah, the number one biggest, highest value piece of advice that someone can watch this and be like, oh, wow, yeah, I never thought, but that's amazing. I've been doing this 20 years. That's great.
Yeah, I think my number one piece of advice would be to exercise humility and realize not everything is going to be perfect. Once you can understand that you're never going to be perfect, your business is never going to be perfect, you'll stop planning and spending so many cycles trying to build the perfect marketing scheme, the perfect carpet cleaning technique, the perfect tool, the perfect solution. Like just make small iterations and learn as you go, and just make small little improvements instead of trying to spend countless amounts of time and effort trying to figure out something perfect. Because in all likelihood, as brilliant as people may be, you're probably not going to find the perfect solution on the first go. And so small iterations over time, just small little improvements to your business, that adds up. And I know it's not what people want to hear because it like you said, it takes time. It's 5, 10 years. You're not gonna have maybe people do, but I don't think so. You're not gonna have that $1 million business year one as a new entrepreneur. It's not reality. So if we can constructively deal with reality, kind of humble ourselves a little bit and understand like this is going to be hard work. It's going to take small, consistent improvements and exercise a little bit of humility and asking others for advice.
Resilience as well.
Resilience. There you go.
As an entrepreneur, sometimes you want to cry.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want to jump out the window. Sometimes it's just too much. Sometimes the crap really hits the fan and you're like, oh my God, and it's a real challenge. Other times it's amazing. It's full of ups and downs. And I think the true measure of a successful entrepreneur is like being the ability to be thick-skinned, to be resilient, and no matter how many people try to take you down, no matter what challenges you face, it's the ability to keep getting back on the horse.
Yeah.
Keep going, keep going, and never, ever give up.
Mental
and if you
model
could just
I have that I'll share to that point, the mental model I'll share, every time we get knocked down, what I tell myself and I tell my guys is like, look, if we get back up, that same thing is going to knock out one of our competitors and they're not going to get back up. So now we're going to be ahead. Like that's how I want us to think about things. We got knocked down, great. We got knocked down. This is good because it also probably knocked down our competitors, and now we can leapfrog. Maybe they quit and we don't, right? So now we're further ahead. So that's the model, the mental model I would encourage other entrepreneurs to have if they want to be successful long term.
Absolutely, and I think that's something that there's two things really I want to finish on that I totally agree with that, and some of the advice that I received through some of my mentoring was if you're able to be so resilient that no matter what challenges that you face, that you just keep going, you just never give up and you just keep going, eventually you'll outstay the competition. If you want to know how to beat the competition, just keep going, just never. But most people give up or quit.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just don't give up and quit, just by simply never quitting, like eventually you'll beat. You'll win. Like that's it. It's that simple. And then leaning into what you said earlier, there's a phrase that I often use, which is called "done is better than perfect." And one of the big problems that I see in the entrepreneurial space is that, for example, let's use a website. People, they're working on their website and they want it to be perfect. And they're like proper picky about every little detail. And then and because of that, 6 months later, the website's still not finished. A year later.
Could have captured a handful of leads in that 6 months. Yep. Even if it wasn't perfect.
You just got to get it up there and get it out there. You can, like you said, later on, you can go back and do a better version of it. You can go and refine it later on. But often the thing that stops people from actually doing the business, actually having the business and actually getting customers is they like to think that they're keeping themselves busy by working on all of this stuff when actually none of that stuff really matters. Like just get something done. Doesn't have to be perfect. Like you said, get it out there and start actually being a business owner. And and it'll all come together as you go on the journey. 100%.
Yeah.
So I totally agree. I totally agree with you on that point. So listen, thanks for joining us on the video today. Have a good one, Chris, and thank you very much.